Hey guys, I'm sitting in my car in my driveway to make this video. Chris works from home, so he's home today, and I just didn't want us to be trying to talk over each other if he has to hop on a conference call. And I tried sitting outside, but it's just very windy, and I don't know if you can still hear them, but the birds are very, very loud this morning. So I didn't want to be trying to compete with talking over the birds. So I just want to preface this by saying that I'm not a doctor, obviously, for those of you who couldn't tell, I'm not a doctor. But I do think that this is something that's really important, and I'm not saying in this video that I believe that this happens to every single person that gets breast implants. I don't think that's a responsible thing to say, but I also don't think that it's responsible to say that this is an impossible thing or this could never happen, because it is happening, and I think that it's important and it's not being talked about enough. So I wanted to make this video because I think that it needs to be talked about more, and I also think that it needs to be researched more thoroughly. So with that being said, back in about December of 2019, Chris and I moved to Virginia about a month before, and I decided that I really needed to figure out what was going on with my health. I had been having just some vague symptoms that I couldn't figure out what was going on. So I turned to Google, like most of us do, and I really just got lucky that I stumbled upon this blog post, and the blog's name was Diary of a Fit Mommy, and I'll link her Instagram and her blog post down below. But she was describing a lot of the same symptoms that I was dealing with, and she talked about something called breast implant illness, which I had never heard of. And she also linked a Facebook group called Breast Implant Illness and Healing by Nicole. They have a website also, so I'll link that website down in the description box below at the end. When I found that, I decided I wanted to wait, give myself, about a year to figure out if that's really what I thought was going on, or if I thought there was some other reason for my health issues. So I put it in the back of my mind, didn't forget about it, but I just kind of put it in the back of my mind, wanted to see what happened with my symptoms for a little while. So that was December 2019. Well, a little less than a year later, so sometime around like September, October of 2020, I was still having the same problems. They'd actually gotten worse. So I went back and joined that Facebook group, which now has over 138,000 women in it. At the time, it was around 131,000 when I joined it, so it's growing pretty rapidly. But I joined that group, and I just read through so many women's stories about the symptoms that they are having, and some of these people are, unable to go to work, unable to take care of their children, and so a lot of these women still have implants and are still dealing with their symptoms, but a lot of them have had their implants removed, which is the surgery that I'm having, and have seen a massive improvement in their symptoms. For some of them, their symptoms are completely gone. So it was really eye-opening to read from these real people, how breast implants had affected their lives. And so I started doing searches in that group for the symptoms that I was having, and they were popping up all over the place. So real quick, I just want to go over a couple of the symptoms that I was having. I'm going to pop up on your screen a list from this Healing Breast Implant Illness website, and this list does not contain every single symptom that breast implant illness can cause, but it does contain a lot of them, and so I've got a check mark next to the ones that I've been dealing with. But really quick, the ones that I just want to talk about that I noticed first were headaches, which, if you know me well, you know that I've always suffered from migraines. It's hereditary, and it's just something that I've always dealt with. But My migraines were ocular, so they would start off with an aura, and it was like a ceiling fan turning over next to my head. So I would usually get really dizzy first, and then I'd get the intense migraine pain. But these type of headaches were different. This was something I'd never had before. So these headaches were like starting at the base of my neck and coming up through my jaw, causing a lot of jaw pain, but they were also causing like head pain on both sides. So it was just a different type of headache. So I noticed that something different was happening. And then something else I was dealing with was a lot of joint pain. I have had a lot of joint pain and inflammation in my hands. My fingers are just very swollen all the time. I also am dealing with a lot of inflammation in my face. So that's been different for me. For those of you who know me, I'm a pretty tiny person. I'm 5'5" and I'm 118 pounds. So I'm just a small human, and my face has just been carrying so much inflammation weight in it that I don't even recognize myself sometimes. Another thing is exhaustion, just chronic fatigue. This past Saturday, I believe, Saturday, Chris and I got up, went to the gym like we typically do on Saturday, came home, ate lunch, and I was in the bed the rest of the day. I just couldn't get the energy to do anything. I was laying on the couch, and Chris was like, you should just get to bed because it's going to be more comfortable than laying here on the couch like this. So I did. I just went to bed and stayed in bed until about 8:30, 9 o'clock that night, got up, ate dinner, and went back to bed. So that's really debilitating for someone that typically, has had an active lifestyle. I've always gone to the gym and worked out. I was a gymnast and a cheerleader when I was younger, so I've always kind of been an on-the-go active person. But now it's to where if I, go to Walmart to go grocery shopping in the morning, I need a nap an hour later because I'm just so exhausted and can't get through the day without crashing in the afternoon. So the last thing I really want to touch on is I obviously don't know if this has been related to my implants. I believe it is, but I don't know for sure. I won't know until I have my explant surgery and we see what the surgeon says. But directly behind my left breast implant, basically, so right behind my left boob, in my back, so right about here in my, what is this called? My shoulder blade. I just have a spot about this big, and it started out about 6-8 months ago that it was just like it would get tingly every once in a while, kind of like it was falling asleep, like when your hands fall asleep or something, or your foot falls asleep. So it felt like that, but as time has gone on, it's gotten to where it's a constant numbness. So it's basically just a numb spot in my back now. Every once in a while it will tingle, but for the most part I can't feel it. It's just completely numb. So that's been concerning. I don't know if that's nerve damage or if my implant is pushing on something the wrong way, if my implant has flipped around, because that's possible. I don't know if my implants are leaking, because that's also possible. I really don't know what's going on, but that numb spot in my back has been scary for sure. So those were the symptoms over the past year that I was dealing with. And then I actually have had 2 new symptoms pop up recently, but I'm going to talk about those in a minute. So I want to kind of go back again to after I found this Facebook group. I did as much research as I could. This Facebook group has a list of recommended explant surgeons. They are on their list because they have proven to do proper explant procedures multiple times. And that is really important when it comes to this surgery, is going with somebody who is skilled in this exact procedure. It's a very specific procedure. It's not just to go into the office and pop your implants out and that's it. They have to remove the capsule that has formed around your implants, which is just the scar tissue that's formed around the implants. But a lot of times this scar tissue can be like adhered to your rib cage and things like that. So you have to go with someone that's skilled enough to be able to get the entire capsule. They have to remove every single piece of the capsule. So if it's stuck on your rib cage or anything like that, I'm not going to go into a ton of detail, but they have to be able to get it off. So you have to go with somebody that's skilled enough to perform this surgery. So I looked through the recommended list of surgeons in this Facebook group, and I found Dr. Bahardi, who is based out of Charlotte, North Carolina. So I set up a consultation with him for December of 2020, and we did a virtual consultation, and he was just absolutely wonderful. I loved him. He answered all my questions before I even asked them. It was like he just knew the information that I needed to know, and he just made me feel extremely comfortable. So I had my consultation with him, and also think really quick that it's important to note that surgeons, plastic surgeons, the plastic surgery community is pretty divided on this issue right now. There are a lot of surgeons that don't believe in breast implant illness, and obviously that's not the surgeon that you want doing your explant surgery, because they're not going to understand the importance of removing the entire capsule. But there are also a lot of surgeons who absolutely believe in breast implant illness. There are some surgeons who have strictly switched to just doing explant procedures. They don't even put implants in anymore, which I think is absolutely awesome. My surgeon, Dr. Bahardi, is conducting research on breast implant illness, and he is also doing a lot of explant procedures lately. So I just felt really comfortable with him, and ultimately I scheduled my surgery with him for March 31st. So I scheduled my surgery for March 31st, and on March 8th, I had my pre-op appointment in the office. So I went down to Charlotte for my pre-op appointment, and the nurse took me back, and she took my blood pressure, and my blood pressure was high. So she noted that in my chart, and that was different for me because I've never really had high blood pressure before. So she just noted it in my chart, and Dr. Bahardi came in and talked to me for a few minutes, just went over a couple of the things about the surgery, and again, he answered everything before I could even ask it, so that was wonderful. He just made me feel so comfortable. So after I talked to him, they sent me to the pre-op coordinator, and when she looked at my chart, she saw that my blood pressure had been high when the nurse took it, so she wanted to retake my blood pressure. So she retook my blood pressure, and it was still just way too high. So she went and got the manual blood pressure cuff and took it again, and it was so high that she looked at me and said, if your blood pressure is this high the morning of your surgery will not happen. So that was very scary. So she referred me to have an EKG just to make sure that there's no serious problems. And I went to have my EKG 2 days later. So on Wednesday, March 10th, I went to the doctor to have my EKG. My blood pressure was still very high, and they did my EKG, and my EKG came back showing tachycardia. So for anyone that does not watch Grey's Anatomy, tachycardia is just rapid heart rate, really for no reason. So my heart is just beating very, very quickly, and I actually have noticed it, a lot more now that I'm aware that it's not normal, that I can feel my heart beating in my chest pretty consistently. I can feel it when I lay down at night. I can feel it in my ears, which I had actually said something about a week before my pre-op appointment to Chris and to my mom, like, hey, when I lay down at night, I could feel my heart like pounding in my ears, along with the ringing that I have in them. But that's a whole nother story. So they took blood to check, just do some routine blood work. All of that came back normal, but she did have me get an at-home blood pressure monitor so that I could take my blood pressure twice a day, and then we scheduled a follow-up appointment for a week later. So I took my blood pressure twice a day at home. It was very up and down. I can't even describe. I have no idea why it was so up and down. Sometimes it would be high, sometimes it would be normal. There was just really no rhyme or reason for what was happening with my blood pressure. So my follow-up appointment was this past Thursday, which was the 18th, I believe, March 18th. So I went to my follow-up, and blood pressure was still high. So she has referred me to a cardiologist. They took more blood to do a thyroid panel, which the results haven't come back yet. I'm expecting those hopefully today or tomorrow to see what those say, but she did refer me to a cardiologist. But she did say that she is comfortable with me going forward with having my surgery. And so that made me extremely happy that she's okay with me having my surgery, even though my blood pressure is a little bit high and my tachycardia is, we don't know what's going on there. But so now I'm just kind of fingers crossed that the morning of my surgery, my blood pressure will be normal enough for them to go ahead and do the procedure, because I really do believe that my implants are what's causing this issue. So it's kind of frustrating to think that my implants are causing these issues, and so getting them out will fix them, but I can't get them out because of the issues that I have. So I'm really, really hopeful, if you could, cross your fingers, send up some good thoughts, that the morning of March 31st, my blood pressure just decides to be nice to me, and that it is normal enough for them to go ahead with my surgery. So with all of that being said, I just really wanted to make this video. This is really important to me. One, because it's affecting me, but two, I was not aware of this when I got breast implants. And so I have had a couple of you reach out to me in my DMs on Instagram. Also, so I've had some private chats on Snapchat, and you had either never heard of this and you were thinking about getting implants, or you maybe had heard of it but you didn't know anybody that was dealing with it. And so I just want to put as much information out there as possible. This is really, it is a personal thing, but I feel like if I can provide information to somebody that's thinking about getting implants and maybe realizes that this is, it's not just if you're just going to get implants and you're just going to have bigger boobs and have a great life. Like, there are risks, and those risks I feel like weren't talked about whenever I was going to get my implants. I've had my implants almost exactly 6 years. So March 27th, 2015 was the day that I got my implants, and March 31st, 2021 is the day that they will be getting removed. So 6 years and 4 days. And I just feel like it's not something that a lot of people have talked about. It has started to come out more in the news lately. I have seen a couple of celebrities have had theirs removed because they were having issues with them. And so I absolutely love to see that people are starting to speak out a little bit more about their issues with their breast implants. But I really just want, if one person can get something from this, then it's all worth putting my personal information out there. So if you have breast implants and you are having some weird symptoms, feel free to send me a message. I will be an absolute open book with you. I'll tell you as much as I possibly can. If I don't know the answer to something, I'll find a resource that hopefully has an answer for you. If you are thinking about getting implants and you have questions, reach out to me. I'm going to put some resources down in the description box for anybody. I will also link that Healing Breast Implant Illness website and the Diary of a Fit Mommy blog and her Instagram. I'll put those down in the description as well. If there's anything that I can do, please, please, please feel free to reach out to me in the comments, or you can DM me on Instagram. I just really feel strongly about this, and I just want to make sure that everyone has the ability to make an informed decision before they get implants.